And we are live. I have my special guest is with me today, Bree from Hive Science.
Hi, good to see you. Thanks for
Very,
having me on.
very exciting to have you here. When I first conceptualized this channel, well, I had a few people in mind I wanted to bring on, and you were right on top of the list. So I'm getting to start with an A-lister here.
You're making me feel important.
Uh,
So gardens. Yeah, I've had quite a few gardens in my day and grown quite a few plants. I have opinions and thoughts on a lot about it. About the subjects related to it. So, what's this channel all about exactly? Can you break it down for me?
well, I go into garden tips. I
Mm.
showcase my garden, and I like to try and get into a little bit of science when I can, in here and there. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much the basic concept of the channel.
So, do you deal mostly with like angiosperms or I mean, all like I'm looking at your crown or your wreath there, and it's all
Oh,
angiosperms and
that's I just threw this together.
mhm.
Honestly, of just some clip art I was able to gather together. So
I
this is
guess some of
probably
those
yeah
could be
this will probably
ferns.
change eventually as
Yeah,
I
it's
go along.
it looks nice. Just I did notice that there was no like conifers or anything in there.
Yeah.
So like that, and that's my thing. I like weird plants. I like getting like club mosses and stuff. My favorite
Ah.
plant is a rainbow or peacock club moss,
Hmm.
or spike fern, is what it's sometimes called, or peacock spike fern, or rainbow moss. It has a few different names.
Yeah.
It's so gorgeous, though. I don't have any right now. I wish I could get some. I have a hard time getting them balanced in the right lighting conditions and things like that. Now, when I get like a non-native species of plant, I generally try to keep it inside or my screened-in porch, places like that, because you don't want to upset the balance of the ecosystem that you're living in, if at all possible. If you
I
put
usually
your plants up, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I usually try and look at gardening as creating a micro ecosystem,
Hmm.
and I usually grow for food myself since
Yeah.
with the whole pandemic issue going on, I was getting a little bit concerned about food security, and that's why I started my garden.
Hmm. So, do you do like a tiered garden or like terraced or anything like that?
Uh, I mostly do raised beds and container gardens,
Container gardens. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
but
Uh,
the
so
the topic of today is bugs in the garden, and I
yeah.
think they're a highly overlooked important part of gardening. Being seen as
Mm-hmm.
most people usually just think of like bees, the ladybugs, maybe
Mm-hmm.
the butterflies, and then everything else is just a pest that you need to get rid of with BT or neem oil. And I actually do not advocate doing that. That's your nuclear option. Yeah, I actually recommend trying to keep some of those pests, and that's kind of what we're gonna get into here.
Oh yeah. So, and I don't generally condone like chemical solutions. There are always, I guess, for your home garden. I don't know. When it comes to an agricultural level, there's a
It can be
whole,
more, yeah, it can be more
yes, it's
trickier with
very
the
complicated. Yeah, because you're talking about weighing out human starvation numbers at that point. So
yeah.
we're
The
not
big
gonna
problem, yeah, the big problem with the industrial gardening is or farming,
industrial farming. Yeah,
yeah,
let's
industrial
call it.
farming thing is that they usually do monocropping.
Yeah, which is
So
bad for everybody, all the
yeah,
ecosystem. Yeah. That's why when I see these people saying, "Oh, the world's not overpopulated," and showing these maps or these wide open prairie lands and stuff like that, or open fields, it's like, yeah, but you know how much of that's dedicated to growing crops and agriculture, and then farm animals and or cattle land and things like that as well. It just, the humans take up so much space. So if you can take your backyard and turn it into a little microcosm for native species to thrive in, that should be all of our goals. Is just is parts of is a part of the ecology. If you, especially if you live in a city or something and you don't have much space, having container gardens or even just having stuff growing in pots out in your outdoor window ledge of native stuff that the local fauna can come and feed on and pollinate. Amazing contribution that you are making to the local ecology and the thriving of local insects and local birds.
Mm-hmm. And bringing up
Mm-hmm.
this our first article here.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually on how to control aphids, but it had a nice little bit here that the aphids are the base food chain in the garden, and it gets into a number of different things that eat the aphids that you want in your garden. And this is actually how I recommend taking care of aphids is you let your predatory insects feed on them.
I see a
And
ladybug. Yep.
yeah, ladybugs, your lacewings, big-eyed bugs. I don't know what those are. You know anything about those?
Yeah. As well, like with the common names, it's hard for me to pin them down. But yeah, they parasitoid wasp are a good example because they need caterpillars to and not I'm just reaching out from aphids just to give an example. They need caterpillars to lay their eggs on some species too, and aphids are just the same way. They need and aphids. The thing about their place in the food chain is they stick their little proboscis into the plant, and then they spread out their these spikes on either side to hold themselves in to sit there and drink sap, and that's where they spend most of their lives. So when a predator comes along, they can't just like back out and run. They can't just like pull it out. They have to go through all these restoring processes, and it's almost sad to watch the ladybug approach of the hanging aphids, and they're all trying to they're going through the steps of pulling their things out, but it takes them like I mean, a ladybug is a fast prey. That's why ladybugs can be slow on when they walk, because that's their prey.
I recently had an issue with aphids in my garden, and one of the things that alerted me to the issue was actually bugs crawling around on the plants. I looked up underneath the plant, and sure enough, there was too many for the ladybugs to take care of, so I had to take care of it myself by I just washed them off with water.
Yeah,
I wasn't trying to get rid of all of them either, because I wanted to keep a few so the ladybugs had something to eat.
Because you want them to have something to eat, because there's sometimes things worse than just aphids can attack your garden, and having a ladybug guards on duty, and also it keeps your plants healthy. Having a balanced ecosystem.
It takes less effort for me in the long run, because if I get rid of all the aphids, the ladybugs will leave, and I could have a bigger pest problem down the road.
Yeah, and that's what's good about the wasps too, taking care of that bigger pest problem down the road. Which I guess it sounds like we're talking about like caterpillars and stuff, that'll eat your vegetables.
Speaking of wasps, I was kind of hoping to find the clip. I couldn't find it for the start, but I actually have seen wasps going around the flowers pollinating my plants.
Yeah, so there's a funny meme that I always post. It's like wasp can be just as beneficial as just as beneficial as bees if you give them a chance. And someone's like, "This sounds like it's written by a wasp." But yeah, they can. They pollinate. They'll also disperse like seeds of small sweet fruits and things like that, because they carry those back to their hives as well, back to their little nest to feed the babies, because they're like sweet liquids. So something like a strawberry, they'll disperse the seeds as they carry them around. So they serve dual purpose there. Wasps are often overlooked and important part of the garden ecology. People are often scared of them, but they're going to be the thing about wasps that's different than bees is if you have wasps, they're generally local, so they're going to be local pollinators that you can depend on being there all the time. Whereas bees probably have a big hive somewhere, maybe up to 3 or 4 miles away. So there's a difference there. where the wasp are going to be, so probably somewhere on your property, or close to your property at least, that you're helping support, which is persistent pollination. So there's those factors that come into play, which are, which you can weigh against bees. Now, I'm not saying that wasps are better than bees. I'm not saying bees are better than wasps. I'm just saying wasps, even though they are less often considered pollinators, they are indeed pollinators. They like that sweet nectar just as much as any bee.
Yeah. Another thing I see quite often are the solitary bees, and they're quite
Mhm.
beautiful. I get this
Mhm.
one that's actually a green in kind of a metallic looking one that comes around quite often. And I've
Yeah, some
been
of them are so tiny too and so
Yeah, I know
cute.
they're little bee ones, and
Mhm.
it's so great when I have the flowers out because I can go out in my garden and I'm actually surrounded by bees and other pollinators. It's so cool.
Yeah, once you get down in there and you're in the flowers and there's colorful little bees buzzing all around
Mm.
you, and that's the one thing I miss about weeding my flower beds now that I've moved into this apartment, was being among the bees.
Yeah,
Uh, while I mean, there's still bees here that I can go out and sit with and stuff, but it's just not the same when I'm not out there working like the bees are working to take care of the flowers, and I'm working to keep the weeds back from the flowers. And weeds are just like the same thing as pests. It just means something that's existing where you don't want it to exist as a human. So it's not really a true category. It's a anthropocentric category. It's something that's only relevant to us because we are the invasive species in the
mm,
matter, and anything we put into the ecology that is not natural is invasive as well. So if you plant something that's not native to the region you live in, then you need to tend to that in it
yeah,
by natural means. That's why container gardens are great, because you're segmenting out your non-native species. You're making sure that its roots and that it's uh, what they call it, hycorrheal hairs that come off the roots that connect with the mycelium and stuff, that those are not connecting into your native system when they're not part of it when you put them in container gardens. So that's all beneficial.
yeah. I actually I have a plan in further down the road here to actually build nesting spots for the solitary bees to hang around in my yard.
Aw. You should build bat boxes too. That'll help
Yes,
with
yes,
pest control.
I do. I want to get some bat boxes as well.
Yes. Bats
Since
are so, yeah, beneficial as well. And they're beneficial to keeping the insects in balance and the pest insects down. Uh, Purple martins are another animal that you can include. I know we're here to talk about bugs, I know, but I love all ecology because it all comes in balance. And
yes,
these are things that are specifically insectivores, right? Having
yeah,
insectivores in your ecology, just like if I said, having spiders in your garden, because they're not affecting your plants.
it's bug
They're eating
adjacent.
the pest species as well. And spiders, yeah, spiders are another example of something the wasp keeps under control. If you're afraid of spiders, hey, wasp are here for you. If you don't like running into spiders while you're out turning your soil in your garden, yes, the wasp is your best friend. It's the wasp doesn't really care about you till you start swinging at it.
Yeah,
Unless you're like digging
I've
around.
definitely taken a new look at wasps since I started my garden.
Yeah. So yeah, when you're out in your garden working and a wasp flies by to pollinate while you're working out there, or to do whatever, just if it's around, has it ever just been the aggressor to you while you're just sitting there tilling the soil with your shovel?
Nope, I've never had
Yeah.
any. I've never been stung once out in my garden, and like I said, I've been surrounded by all sorts of stingy stuff.
Right. That's an important point that that Rick's making out here about the bats eating mosquitoes. So having a good healthy population of like we said, ladybugs to control the aphids allows other organisms that would fill that to exist in that niche as well, since the aphids aren't overwhelming everything, which gives food to the organisms that grow up that when they're in their larval stage, they're in the water and they eat mosquito larvae. When they're in their adult stage, they eat the aphids and things like we're talking about. So yeah, it's all linked together. So it's all mosquito. You're about mosquito control. Then you should be for a balanced garden ecology, because anything out of whack, mosquitoes are the first ones to benefit from it.
Also, one other thing I saw him mention is the ants are a problem. That's actually another thing we're just going to get into here.
Yeah. So I don't think I've ever had, not in a garden situation, problems with ants. And in a vivarium situation, I've had problems with ants, but never in a garden situation. Have you?
I had ants in one of my raised beds once. All I did was just kind of I ended up disrupting the soil, and they went away and went someplace else. But this was interesting. That I came across this was with dragon fruits. There's some antidotal, excuse the pun, that seems to help with the growth of dragon fruit. And self-sufficient me, he's another gardening YouTuber, had taken note that he seemed to have better fruit with the ants colonizing in his dragon fruit pots. I've been thinking about how that may actually work. I was thinking maybe two ways that they maybe going for the sugars might have some beneficial effect to the pollination, but I was reading that ants don't seem to do much with the way of pollinating. The other thing I was thinking they might be doing is since they're digging tunnels into the soil, they may be helping to aerate the soil, thus improving bacterial growth and thus improving the nutrient uptake to the plant.
They also clear the forest floor of detritus too. If there's anything edible in the forest floor, they will ants will keep it clear. And yeah, aerating it. They encourage things like isopods to be able to thrive, because they where there's ants, arthropod predators don't tend to want to stick around. So isopods are no interest to ants. Ants are of no interest to isopods, so they coexist pretty copacetically and have it. So ants encourage isopods, which is definitely good for your soil and good for breaking down like leaf litter and things like that into new soil.
Yeah.
Part of that decay process. So yeah, with encouraging certain species to thrive in your garden that don't seem like they would like it would be beneficial or that it would matter at all, can actually be totally the reverse, and you can benefit from actually having a species that is not that you would think is not beneficial, actually leading to somewhere on the food web that it is a boon to your garden overall, right? Certain like wasp or deter certain birds that might eat your vegetables as well.
And since we're talking about soil, that's another thing that people largely overlook are the bugs that we find in our soil. Like I find the rusty millipede quite often in my garden. And they're doing all sorts of jobs.
Centipedes, millipedes. It's a microcosm, really. There's even pseudoscorpions, depending on where you live, that are tiny down there. Mites, little tiny mites that live in the soil. Insect larvae, especially like beetle larvae. Like most beetles spend the majority of their lifespan buried in the soil. That's why isopods also, I don't know if you know this or not, they pull the heavy metal out of the soil.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they're really that's their main benefit. That's why they're such a good thing to have in your exotic tanks, Like if you keep exotic animals like I do, because uh, when you spray water in there, when you put food in there and stuff, it leaves the heavy metals behind in the soil, or it can. So
Hmm.
having them to break that down is just greatly beneficial to the overall health of the biome. I'm sure it'd be the same thing for your container garden. So maybe a handful of of these, and maybe some millipedes in there in each one of your container gardens might not be such a bad idea.
And the funny thing about the thing we're looking at here is the pill bug isn't really an insect.
Yeah, this is a crustacean.
Yeah, I see these quite often. I don't see them quite as often as I used to though when I was
I
a
have
kid. I don't
I
know
have
why.
some zebra. I have some zebra isopods. These are isopods. That's what
Yeah,
these are called.
yeah.
Yeah, they're crustaceans. And they, yeah, that's what I was talking about. Pulling the heavy metals from the soil and stuff. Is these
Hmm.
guys? Somebody could call them sow bugs, wood lice, roly polies, pill bugs, potato bugs. Some people have called them. But yes,
Got,
I have some zebra striped
got
ones
one
up
there
in here.
with its
Look at with
babies.
his babies. Now you can see why it's called a sow bug. Look
Yeah.
at the babies, like a mama pig with her babies. Armadillium vulgara is this species. Not all of them roll up like that. Not all
Oh,
of them
really?
can.
Hmm.
Yeah, this is a very common species though. This is in your garden. You probably have these if you live in anywhere that's not part of Gondwana land.
Yeah, I've seen them before in my yard.
Yeah. So they're everywhere, and yeah, if you find a little cluster of them when you lift up a rock or something, scoop them up and put them in your container gardens. The plants will thank you.
Good advice there.
Yeah, these even bring them in with your potted plants. Bring them in for the when you bring them in for the winter. Lift up some rocks and grab some isopods and drop them in there. They'll just help keep like bacteria growth down. They'll like if there's anything decaying in there, they'll break it down for you so that it doesn't spread to like fungus on your roots and things like that. So yeah, they are a great asset to have even in your indoor pots. Uh, Now, ladybugs are also a good thing to have for indoor gardens. Do you do any indoor gardening?
I don't have any indoor gardening. I just don't really have a room at the moment.
Yeah. That's all I have room for, or all I have the space for at the time right now. So we should do an episode on indoor gardening sometime too.
Yeah. Uh,
Be a fun topic.
well,
I've never done indoor vegetable gardening though.
speaking about ladybugs, one tip: if don't bother buying in the ladybugs and letting them loose. I mean, it might be fun if you just for kicks, but they're gonna go fly off to someplace else. They want to go home.
Yeah, you can buy like ladybugs in bulk too. I don't think you can even buy them not in bulk. You always have to buy
Yeah,
them in the hundreds. You can't just
yeah.
buy like, oh, I want 5 ladybugs. Nope, you're getting. Oh, you want 500 ladybugs? No. There was somebody that ordered a whole bunch of ladybugs and had them sent to a school. I can't remember. I can't remember where it was though. It was like as a prank though, and just release them all. But I've been to places where ladybugs get out of control too. So
Yeah.
it's all a matter of balance. It's always a
Yep.
matter of balance, keeping things right, keeping those pH levels in your soil right. Do you how do you use different methods to check the pH in your container gardens, or just you just give them
I
like purified water and stuff?
I do need to actually need to check the pH in my soil from time to time, but mostly I
Yeah.
usually give it rainwater, but that'll actually
Hmm.
acidify the soil over time.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
I will use
Unfortunately.
yeah, I will use regular tap water as well. Just you don't have to worry about the chlorine in the water. That actually dissipates fairly quickly.
Yeah.
It's but
Right,
yeah.
right. So do you when you're filling your container garden, do you buy like bagged soil or do you use native soil?
I usually, if I can, I try and use my own compost, but I do have to
Hmm.
buy quite a bit. I still just don't have
Yeah.
enough to do what I need. What you can do to help with the acidified soil, it's too acidic. Is just add a little bit of lime. That'll bring up the pH.
So does that if you you lay it, you had a drainage layer in your containers, I imagine. What
I
do you use?
I use grow bags, so they drain very well. The big problem with grow bags is they can actually drain too well, and you have to
Hmm.
watch them from drying out.
Oh,
But
interesting.
I love them because they actually help prevent the plants from becoming root bound because they'll air prune the outside of the pot.
Interesting. Yeah. So with how many so with your outdoor gardens, how many how are just, is it just one or do you have
Oh, I'm working on turning my whole yard into a garden.
oh my goodness, how big's your yard?
Um, it's not that big. So I think the property is around 840 square feet,
Hmm.
and then I have the house that takes up about a third of that. So,
Do you have wildflowers?
oh yes. In fact, that's that little image I showed at the beginning of
Hmm.
this was one of the wildflowers by Insalba.
Gorgeous. Yeah. I had a blueberry or a blackberry vine that was always attracting the bees like that. It was so pretty in the early spring with its little white flowers.
Yeah, I've got a blackberry growing. I used to have wild blackberries growing back there apparently when I was really little.
Yeah. So, how much of it do you have any water fixtures or anything in your backyard? Any ponds or
Oh yeah, I have an artificial
fountains?
pond back there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you garden any aquatic plants in it?
yes, I do have a few aquatic plants, and that's as if you've seen my that little picture of the dragonfly nymph used from my a pond.
Hmm. Yeah, I like those kind of pictures too. So keep those coming. They're so cool to see the development of different predators in the ecology of your own backyard. I used to do a segment on my show called Backyard Safari, which I want to get back into at
Oh,
some point, but where we would just look at like native species and things like that and get down in the dirt with them and see isopods and like nothing is more exciting to me than going out into the wild where no one's ever been and just lifting up a rock.
yeah, it's usually where you see all the little creepy crawlies.
Uh-huh. Or just peeling back a piece of bark and looking underneath.
Yeah, in fact, what I usually like to do is I'll actually take rocks about the size of the palm of my hand, and I'll place them around in my garden.
Hmm.
And that actually helps to attract like the insects and bugs. And also,
Yeah.
I'll use it also as to help as to deter squirrels. So I'll basically put like a ring around the a plant that I don't want to get dug up. It'll help keep the
Hmm.
squirrels from digging right underneath the plant and digging the plant up.
Right. Yeah. I know. I'm all for that too. Using natural stones and things like that instead of putting like an artificial concrete and things like that, where it gives the creatures a highway to move underneath
Hmm.
the human inhabited area instead of. I mean, not to say that they can't dig under a sidewalk, but it takes years and years, and yeah, and also doing like stepping stones and things like that. Uh, you can just pull them out once the yard tries to swallow them up. You can just pull them out and clear it back that way, as opposed to like concrete where you basically have to dig it out with a shovel every
Yeah,
every fall.
yeah. Most of the rocks I have are just rocks that have been dug up in my yard. They can get pretty
Hmm.
big too. I've got some like boulder-sized rocks sitting around.
I have a little fossil collection that of native from native rocks that I had like used as markers and stuff in my gardens. Yeah, it's been
looks like we have some talk about Japanese beetles. Any
no,
knowledge on
yes.
those guys?
Well, they're invasive, but at this point, they're pretty well naturalized. They're like with the brown marmotted stink bug and now the spotted lanternfly, which I encourage he's been talking about like letting some pests survive. When it comes to spotted lanternflies, don't let any of those survive at all. Like any of them, they all need to die.
So the invasive species you want to get rid of.
Yes, invasive species.
Well, one recommendation for taking care of Japanese beetles is you can grow. I've found that they tend to be very attracted to sunflowers. So grow a patch of sunflowers, and they maybe just go after that, and you can just pick them off.
Mm-hmm. Scoop them off.
Yeah.
Deal with them. The humane way to do it is just scoop them off, put them in like a Ziploc bag, and put it in the freezer.
Yeah, it's also good. If you are going to grow sunflowers, it's actually good to grow them away from your other plants because they can be allelopathic. They release a chemical that can actually kill other plants.
To clear the soil around them for their babies.
Yep.
Because that's how they don't their seeds don't necessarily go all that far. A lot of them just end up right there on the ground where they're at. So
they tip down and then drop all the seeds. So that makes sense that they would do that. Just a bit of a tip if you're going to grow those sunflowers.
I wonder if it's directional to the direction they're going to fall down. I wonder if there's been any experimentation done if they're allelopathic towards.
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to test that out.
Towards where they're going to dip. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Like you can track plant growth in the radius around one.
Yeah, that's definitely some of the things I like to do with my channels to test things out like that.
That'd be an interesting experiment. I have grown sunflowers in the past. I like hollyhocks too, but they're not really. They aren't necessarily as good for your garden as I used to think. So, I don't know.
What's this here?
Do you know what a hollyhock is?
Not off the hand.
Okay, they have really big flowers too, but they're sort of invasive. The sunflowers in our community garden plot are coated with squash bugs and ruined all squash-related veggies for 43 garden plots. Good grief!
Oof.
Yeah, they actually when I did my episode on weaponized, it was called Release the Bugs of War, on weaponized insects. That was one of the main drivers that they tried to accomplish with weaponized insects, was to find a way to have them destroy local agriculture, right? So they weaponized them to target gardens and farms. The ones that they mainly weaponized were potato bugs, Colorado potato bugs specifically, because they're so devastating.
Going into the benefits of pest bugs, and we already talked about ants here, but they also have roaches.
Roaches are not pest bugs. What's this guy talking about?
Probably talking about them getting into the homes.
Let me give you some statistics on that, people. Okay, of the 43,000 species of roaches, 30 are able to be pest species, and only 5 of those are able to be year-round pest species in temperate areas. So, out of 43,000 species of roaches, only 30 are being a pest. That's like a 99.99999.5 or 99.999995 friend ratio. So they're not pest species at all. They're beneficial.
The interesting thing I've found since I've started my garden, I used to have a problem with palmetto bugs coming into the house all the time, particularly seasonally when the weather would do a sudden shift. But since I've started my garden, I have not been seeing them coming into the house most lately. So I'm wondering if maybe something I'm growing or something that's keeping them
might be those rocks.
Outside. Yeah, maybe it's rocks.
Yeah, the rock's giving them some place to go when it rains or
I
gets
get
cold to hide
maybe
underneath.
I
The
might
rocks will hold heat.
I might be giving them some other places to go that with the pots and everything I've got sitting around. So that
Hmm.
might be another way of controlling your insect problem. If you have roaches coming into your house that you don't want them in your house, your garden might actually act as a deterrent to that.
Yeah, and wood roaches don't thrive in your home. Like palmetto bugs, they might be able to get into your home. It might be a bother you in your home, but they're not like thriving and breeding in your home. They're
Well,
not.
they were breeding in my home.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I actually had ensign wasps also showing up.
Hmm. I never heard of palmetto bugs being like a in-home pest species. 'Cause I've always understood that they do this that while we like it too dry for them.
Well, it's very humid here in Florida, so back
Yeah,
into the back walls of the bathroom is a particularly humid area.
I see. Okay, yeah. I mean, we get wood roaches up here that will crawl up through the drain or will come into into the bathrooms and things like that. But
Spider,
I would.
no,
I,
okay, I have to disagree with this one. Spiders are definitely not pests.
who are spiders pests to? Who are they claiming that? Especially this wolf spider. Who's this wolf spider hurting?
Yeah.
I'm not going to agree with this being a pest
E-
species at all.
Even in the house, I actually have no problem with having spiders in my house.
Mm-mm. You should having spiders. If you have spiders in your house, it may indicate that there's maybe a bug problem in your house that they're there to control. The spiders aren't in your house to eat nothing.
Yeah,
So,
I do have an issue with moths currently, and I do get gnats from
mhm,
time to time. So that's
mhm,
probably what they're eating. In
yeah,
fact, I have seen the spider catch a gnat. So
they're there for a reason. If you have spiders in your house, so just ignore them and go on your happy way because they're
yes,
controlling something that's going to bother that would probably bother you more.
as a teenager, I might find this fun. I had this huntsman spider, it was about the size of my hand, and it lived
Hmm.
in the back of my headboard of my bed.
Yeah,
He was so cool. I just let him be there. Never
just a
bothered me
pet.
once.
Yeah, why not? Because you're if it's there, you'll. I bet you never had bed bugs the whole time you were living there, did you?
Yep, never had a bed bug in my life.
Yeah. So there you go. Your friend spiders are friends, not pests.
Yes. No. Millipedes aren't pests.
Centipedes aren't pests
So,
either, any more than spiders. Um, if a centipede's in your house, it's there for a reason.
like
Millipedes won't thrive in your house though.
yeah, like I said, I get the rusty millipede in my garden quite often, and those are actually quite beneficial species
Hmm.
used to the soil because they help break down the decaying matter and all that.
So yeah, if you have like centipedes in your home, uh, first first I'd say you probably have a moisture issue, but like you said, it's bathrooms and basements and things like that. But there's something that's eating there, so the centipede in and of itself wouldn't be the problem if you're looking for a pest. Because the centipede's got to be eating something. It's a predator, just like the spider.
I imagine the same situation would be with earwigs too. They like
Mm,
it humid. I know that much.
yeah, yeah, and I don't have too much of an issue with so yeah, earwigs, centipedes, millipedes, isopods, they all live. Find them in like damp areas of a basement or maybe uh, in the space under your bathtub or something like that where there's just moisture. They do thrive in those kind of locations, and earwigs are no different.
Mm. Yeah, I've seen these guys out in my yard before, but I've not encountered them in the house. So
Yeah, they're not as common as isopods and centipedes and things like that. I'm surprised isopods didn't show up on the list because everything else on here is just kind of the same, like especially millipedes. Millipedes and isopods fill us like almost identical ecological niche.
mm,
Um, but they're completely different families or different isopods are crustaceans, whereas millipedes are myriapods, which have been around for both have been around for a long time. But yeah.
but this is a good example of what I was mentioning that people tend to think of everything else as a pest. not rather
Mhm.
than those, except for those few who other insects that they tend to look in the garden. So no,
Yeah.
there's quite a diverse ecosystem that you're actually dealing with insects in your garden.
Yeah. I liked one of the places I lived when I was younger, when I was going to school, had a little cave on the property back in the. It wasn't part of that we tended, but there was a cave back there that had some unique wildlife that I think was tangentially affecting our garden, because the cave had like this cold front that would blow out of it. So I think that we would get we would get a lot of big centipedes and things like that would come up in the garden that I've never seen anywhere else, and I can only think that it was caused by having this cave back on the back 40 or whatever of the property, right? We get and I'm in or I was at the time, like in Missouri, north of the Ozarks, where we don't get a lot of the giant centipedes up here, but we get them sometimes this long, about 4 or 5 inches long in the garden. And I think it was because they thrive in that cave, and then when they would breed, they would spawn out into our yard and get into our rock gardens and things like that. But they I never had a problem with them. I people that are afraid of centipedes are like, they fill the same niche as a spider, except for where it's moist.
Mm.
That's the difference. They're fill the same predatory niche, but they're down low at the ground level and the fossorial level, and they like it damp because they don't have the coating on their chitin like other arthropods do, that help them
Oh,
retain internal moisture. So they have to stay where it's moist. Them and millipedes, myriapods in general, which also includes Symphala, but Symphala are so small you probably won't ever see them. But they don't have this waxy coating that all the other arthropods got when they came on land. So they have to stay where they can keep a little damp. You want to do a quick shout out to everybody in the live chat, because we
yeah,
have a
yes,
pretty steady group of
sure.
people out
Let's
here
see what we
giving
got.
us some commentary.
It's been what Rick here, One Ring 42. You got Jordan, Jay Dixon, Pragmatic, Nick Crystal. Let's see what else we got. I saw
Greg
Sketchcrafter
Hartwick.
here. Greg
Greg
Hartwick,
Hartwick's, yeah.
Tina Jones. All right,
Yeah.
good
Yeah, good to
good
see
turnout.
everybody. Yeah,
Thank you for coming.
did we have questions from peeps? Or I would love to make sure that I didn't leave any stone unturned. I'm talking about putting stones down in our garden for our garden wall. I like a natural garden wall made of like shale from a like a cliff or something.
Oh, you might like this one thing I'm working on is I've been taking this dead branches and stuff and
Mm-hmm.
putting them together to create a raised bed.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, I've just been using these garden stakes as guides to kind of shape it. But otherwise, it's basically a hugelkultur mound, except with the branches on the outside.
Yeah, that's gorgeous. Yes.
Yeah, it's a
I
bit of an experiment.
Yeah. So what do you have the most success with when you're gardening? Do you do like melons or
uh,
peppers
really,
or
kind of depends on the time of the year. I've been getting into doing a lot of tomatoes this year, and I've had pretty good luck with the Ethiopian kale. I kind of like growing.
Ethiopian kale?
Yeah, I kind of like growing that one because it's more heat tolerant and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't go bitter when it's hot. It actually gets more of a mustard flavor. So
Oh, the ambient temperature affects the flavor.
yeah, with kale, most kales will go bitter. Except I found two varieties that don't: Black Magic kale and Ethiopian kale.
Yeah.
And
Have you
the
ever
Ethiopian,
tried growing asparagus?
no, I haven't tried growing asparagus yet. I did talk about that in my last live stream. How some species of asparagus can actually be hermaphroditic in
Yeah,
in low amounts with the
they
males.
they take years to get to a point where they're yeah,
2 years at least to grow.
yeah.
So once you plant them, you're not going to get a yield until next year.
But they look like how if someone was trying to trick you and tell you how a plant grew. That's how asparagus looks. It looks like the asparagus that you eat just popping up out of the ground. That's exactly
Hmm.
how it looks.
Yeah, it does. It's usually the male asparagus that we grow because they don't flower usually. But
Yeah,
like I said, occasionally you do get a hermaphrodite species, so the male actually can produce his offspring because the way the flowering works.
yeah. Do you grow your own onions too?
Uh, I have been trying to grow some Egyptian walking onions. They haven't been taking off too well. I'm gonna try a different species of onion
Hmm.
because onions those those type of plants can be a bit difficult in hot weather. So
Hmm.
we'll have
You're
to
in
try
you're
things
in
out.
Florida.
Yeah, I'm in Central Florida, so that's
It's
almost subtropical weather here.
it's so weird to hear someone complain about not it being too hot to grow certain plants.
Well, that's actually another thing that I have to look forward to, as with the climate change and all that. I do look for plants that can handle higher heat, just for future
Yeah.
reference.
I mean, I live in Upper Illinois, so I mean, it's getting to where we can grow more stuff outside naturally now. I mean, you can grow. Uh, there's some citrus that'll do all right up here. I think
Oh,
that some of them
mm,
some of them will die from time to time. They're if they get a good enough and deep enough roots before there's a hard winter, they can survive
yeah.
for several years.
It's a good segue for me to do this joke.
Uh-huh.
There.
Oh, there you go. I wonder if she's shoveling. And someone just thought, it looks like she's gardening because
Yeah, that looks like a
the
shovel.
hat. The hat. I think she's probably just like grabbed her snow hat because the snow was coming down, or grabbed her gardening hat because the snow was coming down. And so I'm gonna go shovel the walk real quick. Does it snow anywhere where you are at all ever?
I think I've seen snow once in my life here.
Yeah. Did they
That
kill all
was
the iguanas? Were there iguanas falling from the trees like they say?
no. I actually have not actually seen an iguana up close. Oddly enough.
You see them in the wild though.
Yeah, they're actually they're not supposed to be here.
Yeah, they're
They're actually,
invasive.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
invasive.
Yeah,
But I
but I
hear they're
know that
good
they're
eating.
yeah.
Yeah.
I used to raise iguanas when I was a kid.
I used to have an iguana as a kid.
Me too. We had several. We had a big
So.
one named Godzilla. She was a sweetheart until she bit my dad's nose.
I had a friend who had a big iguana named Thor. So
Thor.
looking at Thor, like the god of thunder.
Yeah, our biggest one was a female. Our male never. We had one male, but he didn't make it to like the big male size before a dog bit his head off. It was sad.
There's a little. This is a general tip here. Don't spring into garden cleanup up too soon. Wait until temperatures are consistently above 10 C or 50 Fahrenheit. Many butterflies and bees and other pollinators are currently wintering in dead leaves and hollowed out stems of last year's plants. Let them be.
That's a double-edged sword, though, because you also want to make sure that there's clear enough space for the dandelions to grow too, so that the early birds can get the early bugs can get some something to eat. And that includes the bees that are coming out early, the ground bees.
Mm. I've actually almost completely stopped getting rid of any of my yard waste. I just gather it
Mm-hmm.
up for either compost or whatever.
There's places where where you can pile it. You don't have to scoop it away.
Yeah,
You can
just
relocate it to clear for your area for walking, and because you don't want to be walking where they are anyway,
yeah, that's true.
where anything, because it's not just bugs that are hiding under there. Sometimes there's turtles or snakes or lizards, which you don't want to be stepping on as you walk through
So
the leaves.
this site we're looking at here is actually becoming one of my favorite sites to go to. It's Garden Myths.
Hmm.
Myths.com. And it gets into some really interesting almost the science behind and why you should or shouldn't do things in the garden in here.
Yeah,
And it goes over some of is this
I'm.
actually a good suggestion here?
That's cool. I actually am a fan of a similar site for beekeeping that they talk about. But I imagine this place also has a lot of insect info too, doesn't it?
Yeah. That's
Just because they're all related. It's all related. I mean, even this
hmm
article right here is insect related. Your garden's not just for flowers. Your garden's for bugs too.
yeah.
Just keep that in mind. You can't have a garden without bugs.
Yep. You know,
I
bugs,
feel.
fungus, the really the soil life. In fact, a lot of people would argue that your soil life is actually the most important thing. And some will say
Mm-hmm.
you're not actually you tending to your plants, you're tending to your soil.
The culture, yeah,
Yeah, the
that's what you need to
bacteria, the
maintain.
fungi, and yeah, and bugs are part of that. That's a macroscopic part of your soil right there.
Mm-hmm. You can't separate it. It's all part of the same thing you're tending. That's what you're taking care of. Oh, the and a lot of this is it rolls over to your container gardens as well, or your in-home gardens, or your vivariums or terrariums. All of it, soil care is what you're really doing. That's what you're really after. If you're caring for the soil, the plants will thrive, the bugs will thrive. Composting, I see that in the tags here, should also be a part of your gardening, right? When everything breaks down, you turn it back into soil and put it back on top of itself.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said,
Yeah.
with compost, it's actually good to add a little bit of lime to help with the acidity because usually compost will be more acidic than what you usually want.
Yeah, I'm kind of iffy about using the terminology cold blooded for insects since they don't really have
Mm.
blood, but
Yeah, that's true. They have
hemolyth.
yeah.
But I'm not going to be picky. This is just put into plain English for people. So
Yeah, it is.
for people wanting to learn how to garden, yeah. What are they saying about carpenter bees here? Are they encouraging carpenter bees?
They probably should be.
Yeah.
That's another thing is like the leafcutter bee. There's a bit of a double-edged sword with that guy. They help with pollinator and all that, but they will cut parts out of your leaf, but it's still fine. You don't have to worry about it. It's not going to hurt your plant too badly.
So I got a question for you about Florida in gardening and biomes and things like that. There's this strip of like raised sandy arid region in the middle of Florida where there's this really rare blue bee that lives there and only pollinates these certain kinds of flowers. Are you in an area where those types of flowers could thrive?
I don't think I've seen that.
Ooh, it's really cool. Let me see if I can pull some info up on it. Um, Florida blue bee. It's the blue Clementia bee. It's a rare mason bee. Um, Here, can I share or
Yeah, sure.
um? Sorry, I gotta get at least one little ecology conservation
There
plug.
we are. No, that's the wrong thing.
No, here we go.
Let me get this out of the way. Okay, and there. Okay.
All right, yeah. Here's our critically endangered Clemantha bee. Now these are from this Florida scrub, which is this really weird little biome in Florida that's almost like a little desert. I call it a juniper prairie.
Hmm. I have
in
seen
this,
scrubs in my area, but I don't think I've seen these bees before.
yeah, the Florida sand pine scrub is what they call it. And look at this unique ecology that it has. I'm trying to find a map of it. Maybe I can, because I wanted you to see where it runs. It's like a big ridge that runs right down the middle of the peninsula. If we'd go to Ocala National. Yeah, here we go. We'll use this one. See if that's what will show it. No. There's our Florida scrub. Doesn't show on this map very well, but it's these areas right here.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely away from my area.
Are you up here more?
I'm on Gulf.
Oh, you're up over here. You like by Panama City and stuff.
I'm further down.
Here?
I'm further down.
Okay. Okay, you don't have to dox yourself or anything. I just
well, the hurricane already doxed me to where I am anyway. So
yeah. But this is the ecoregion that I was talking about. Really nifty little place with a lot of unique wildlife, but that wildlife includes this very, very rare bee that I encourage people to be aware of. And if you live in Florida and you live near this area and you see these little guys buzzing around with their little blue heads and their white fur.
They're so cool.
They're kind of metallic looking, right? And they got white fur on them. And if you're in Florida and you see these guys, report it so that people know where they're at, so that the researchers know where they're at, because they had been seen for decades go by between sightings of these guys. That's how rare they are. So if you see them in your garden pollinating, definitely don't swing at them or spray them. But maybe call your local wildlife management service and see what obviously the dead ones aren't cute because they have the dead eyes and stuff where they're, but they're cute when they're alive. Let's see if I can find a better picture of them. Not that picture is bad. I like their furry little faces, which I mean doesn't come across as nearly as adorable. See, there's a fake picture of one. They don't actually look like that. They have white fur. See, they look like this. They don't look like, well, there's the same one we were looking at before, but some different angles on the fuzzy little guy. They're blue with white fur, a dark blue with white fur. Think this is what a lot of people will share is an image of them. This is not this species. This is not even a real. I don't believe this is a real bee that exists. I think this is a Photoshop, but it's definitely not a Florida blue bee. This is the blue. They're more the blue of Nightcrawler as opposed to the blue of Beast for my X-Men fans.
I do see the metallic on the abdomen there.
Yeah, but you'll see pictures like this too. Here's a good one of the actual species. I like the white. I don't get why they're trying to pretend they have blue fur when the white fur, they look so cute with their white fur and their little blue mask. They look like Arctic monkeys to me.
I remember
here's one hanging upside down. So cute.
I remember Gardner Scott. He's another gardening channel here. He's talking about how he did a school thing with bees, and by the end of the school year, where you had the kids going up to little bumblebees and petting them while they were pollinating.
Yeah, bumblebees really don't want to they don't want to mess with you. They don't want to have to sting.
I imagine not. I mean,
most bees don't live in a hanging hive from a tree either. They live like this, and your yard probably has a beehive in it. If
Mhm.
you live someplace that's not tundra, your yard probably has a beehive in it. There are little bee nests for a solitary bee like this,
Yeah,
or maybe some little colonies like bumblebees live in little families of just a few, and but most of them live under the ground. The bees that have the hives hanging from the trees are the exception to the rule, right?
well,
Sorry, I switched your show over to
no,
talking about
no,
Florida bees.
no, that's exactly. I was right on topic.
Yeah, your state maybe vying with California just because they got that unique habitat as well, has the most native bee diversity in the U.S. So uh, save Florida wildlife from fucking Ron DeSantis, please. Sorry about the language. I don't know if I was allowed to cuss on the show, but we're in an hour, so at least it's an hour in.
Yeah. Well, usually he let in and put the chat open up to the chat if anybody wants to come in and say hi. But I don't know. Does anybody want to come in? I'll put the chat out, the link
Yeah,
out if anybody wants to
I'll
say
stick around
anything.
until he comes in. I'm gonna go potty real quick, actually. Okay.
All right. So I'll just get the link out here. So here's the link pinned to the top if anybody wants to come in and say hi. Or if you have any questions you want to ask, you can do that. While we're waiting for Bree, I mentioned several times the rusty millipede. That's what that looks like. I find these guys in my garden quite often. So a little bit, not a very good picture of them really, but it gives a good example of the color I see with them. But these guys will help with breaking down leaf litter or other stuff. It mentions here that millipedes is not poisonous, and they neither bite nor sting. So I get these quite often. Don't see millipedes much in Ohio, but they live year round. Yeah, I see them year round and here. Yeah, what's that? And do I already figure a little story here? Well, I had my house being redone. I had seen this really neat sphinx moth hanging out at my doorway before. It was a big moth. I was nicknaming it Mothra. I don't think this is the actual species I saw specifically, but it was kind of something similar to this. There's quite a number of different species of sphinx moths out there. This is the Wikipedia page. It mentions there's about 1,450 different species of sphinx moth. You can see he works as a pollinator. In that picture, you can see, as you can tell. And they only fly for short periods during the dawn and dusk. So it's probably pretty special to see anyone just sitting at my doorway.
I'm back.
Hello. It's talking about Sphinx moth.
Yeah. Excuse me. The Sphinx moths look like hummingbirds when they mimic hummingbirds, or hummingbirds mimic Sphinx moths, or what have you. They look really weird when you see them. But they're pollinators too. They have that long proboscis
Yeah.
that they stick into just about anything.
Yeah, I've seen. Like I was just mentioning, I saw one sitting at my in my front door once,
Hmm.
and so it was so cool. It was this huge moth. I don't think it like you said. I don't think it was the this specific species of
Hmm.
Sphinx moth I saw, but it was something along those lines.
Yeah. I see that Rick said they don't see millipedes much in Ohio. There should be millipedes in Ohio. Actually, there. If you go to Palestine right now, they should have like 14-foot long millipedes crawling around pretty soon. So nobody got that joke but me.
Prehistoric millipede.
No, I was talking about the radiation, or not radiation, but the chemical spill in Ohio. It's
Yeah.
going to give us giant bugs.
Yeah.
This is a 50s sci-fi movie. Yes, hornworms. I have raised those. They are blue. This is the baby form, or the juvenile form, the pupil form, if you will, of the Sphinx moth or hawk moths. You can go to probably it's about any pet store and get a half a dozen of these for $10.
Yeah. I have seen these guys in my yard. I get I do have a problem with them eating up my
They like tomatoes. I know that.
yeah, they actually get one that's specific for papaya that comes around and eats up my papaya.
Oh, I can't grow papaya here. You're
So
so lucky.
I have found that the chickens like them.
Yeah, the chickens.
Yeah, they'll fight
Chickens will
over
help.
them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're juicy. Look how juicy
Mhm.
they are.
Oh, this guy was beautiful when I was looking at this article. Look at that
Mm-hmm.
guy.
Yep, that's a pretty feeny little tail he's got there.
Yeah, they
All
say that this was
floofy.
a bee hawk moth.
Mhm.
That's what this guy is.
Yeah. See the transparency on the wings there?
Hmm.
Yeah. So pretty. People don't think about moths having transparent wings, but here we are.
Yep. Oh, he's a neat one.
Ooh, that's pretty. Looks like leaves.
Yeah. I've seen the leaf hoppers around here before. They're pretty neat.
Do you ever see the woodlouse spiders?
Woodlouse spiders. Not sure.
Yeah. Key that into Wikipedia. Yeah. Pull those cool looking spiders out.
Nope, I don't think I've seen those before.
Oh, I'm still seeing the moth on my screen.
Oh, I just pulled it up. I just did a quick search. And
Okay, yeah.
Let me see if I can.
Yeah. They're pretty small. They eat isopods.
Let's see. Close this out. And goes here.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to make you switch a whole bunch of stuff. My bad.
There we are. That's what I came up
Yeah.
with when I did a search.
Aren't they so cute? No, they got big monstrous big fangs.
You said he's a teeny tiny though. There's no
Yeah.
reference for size on this image.
Yeah, there is actually a species of trapdoor spider from Africa that I used to have that looks like this but is huge. It's about the size of my computer mouse. It's a pretty big spider. That looked like this. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. They used to call it Gorgorella. I think they changed the name since then though, the species name. Gorgorella
Well, here's one for
spider.
size comparison.
Yeah, that's the woodlouse spider, right?
Yeah, it's a woodlouse spider.
The Gorgorellas are the most aggressive freaking spiders that I've ever had. And they're not tiny like that. And when they're outside of their little holes, they're vicious AF. Trying to see, I'm looking for one that shows a size comparison for it to show you how big they are, but most of the pictures are just of them by themselves. Because they don't make good friends. You can't put it. You can't put anything in there without getting them attacked. The one that I had when I first got it, it would before it was able to dig its burrow and stuff to hide in, it would sit there and strike at just the vibrations of you walking by. It was not messing around. It was yeah. Here's a picture of someone with one on their freaking palm. Hope to God it's dead. Let me share it though. Hold on.
I have to send you a picture of this one spider that's been hanging out in my bathroom. It's black and it creates a funnel web. Ooh.
Yeah. So I had one of these. Actually, I think I saw one of my pictures of it up here because I took lots of good pictures of it. But that's how big they are. That's like sitting in the palm of this guy's hand. So it gives you an idea of how large of a spider this is. And they're like hyper aggressive. They live in little flappy holes like this, which is really cool. And if you try to pull them open with your tweezers, they pull back. They like fight with you for the door.
No, don't open.
Yeah. But yeah, this is their lifestyle. But we have trapdoor spiders in North America that aren't like this. This guy is, like I said, super aggressive and mean, and you don't want to mess with him, right? But the ones we have here aren't like that. I've actually heard stories of people using soil from like from a pot they had outside, like a flower pot, in their vivarium with one of their other pets, and they find out there's a trapdoor spider just chilling, living in there with them.
Yeah. I'll have to get you a picture of that black spider that hangs out in my bathroom these days. He's neat, but
see, yeah, these African trapdoor spiders Ken the Bug Guy used to sell these. There's the black. They came in black too, but I got the red one because the red one looks badass. You got to admit that's if you. I was wanting like a cool looking spider, even though you never see these guys when you have them as a pet. It's a jar of dirt with a little flappy hole.
Yeah. It's a pretty spider. I gotta say that much.
It looks wicked, doesn't it? That's like this is the like quintessential. And look, if you look at them, count the legs with me, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4,
5. What is that? 6? What those are like the fangs?
Those are the pedipalps.
Yeah, that's pedipalp. Yeah.
Yeah, they look just like the legs though. There's like no like when you have one, you look at it overhead. There's no difference. That was like a 10-legged spider.
From my understanding, and the pedipalps were originally legs, anyways. That
they have
evolved
the
into
genes. They have genes to be legs, and then they turned into claws, and then turned back into legs.
Yeah.
They have a bizarre evolutionary history, and Aaron Ra is releasing the next video. We got the script ready to go. It's going to be on scorpions and other arachnids, and then we have the grand finale is going to be all about spiders. So keep your eye open for that as well. That's coming up. If you want to learn about arachnid evolution and like what we were just talking about with the pedipalps, if you want to learn where this wicked cool spider comes from.
Yeah, I do kind of hobby in evolution, so it's an interesting subject to me.
Yeah.
And I've gotten my hands on a textbook book on plant evolution. I plan to try and read through one of these
Mhm.
days if I find the time to actually sit through and read a 900 page textbook.
Dang, 900 page.
Yeah, and this is the basics.
Yeah, so this is the depiction that makes them look like they have more legs than just the 8. But yes, I'm happy to be. I'm like thrilled to be working with Aaron Raw on scripting this series. So that's why I wanted to
Oh,
plug it.
very neat. Yeah, that is
Yeah,
something worth interest.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
a consultant, an arthropod consultant, and helped with the script. Um, so
I watched through his systematic classification of life recently when I was trying to bone up on my on the subject of evolution for another podcast.
so that's what he's doing, right? So he's taking the systematic classification of life, right? That series,
Mhm.
and then because that series went from basically from Luca to human, right?
Yeah, it was basically
So
following human evolution.
yeah, so now what he's been doing now is taking different lineages from when they branched off from our last common ancestor and taking it down that direction instead. So he's done snakes, his snake series where he did is basically a branch of the systematic classification of life, following all the way down to I think he follows it down to like a ball python, or it might be he might have tracked it down to his water cobra. I can't remember. It's one of his snakes.
Mm.
And then this time we're doing it down to tarantulas. So, or we might do it down to black widow. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but I get to pick. So,
Oh, cool.
um,
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, I don't see
yeah.
anybody wanting to come in here, so I guess we can wrap
You want
things
to
up
wrap it
here.
up?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm glad everybody that came and hung out. We've had about I think we had at least 9 people though, pretty much the whole time, and yeah, we got 10 watching now. So, thank you for joining us. It's been
Yes.
fun talking about plants and bugs and spiders and what else? We went down a few little rabbit holes
Well, that's
today. So
that's the general gist of I usually try and pull up. I've been pulling up. Had the idea of pulling up abstracts from peer-reviewed studies and just reading through them and then kind of rambling is basically the format I'm thinking of going with in the future. If you want, if you guys have anything you want to plug, go ahead.
sorry.
Oh, wait for a cough here.
Yeah, sorry. Goodness, I thought I could come back. I was like, nope, it's not out yet. To plug. Okay, so tomorrow at I haven't decided if I'm gonna do it 6:30, sometime between 6:30 and 8. I haven't scheduled it yet. I'm doing my we're doing the bug purchase. So we did the bug drive. We raised $230 plus the Patreon dollars that are supposed to go towards the hive. We're going to use that as well, and we're going to go do some exotic arthropod shopping. So please join me tomorrow night, and I'll have that on the docket. Other than that, Monday, check out. Hold on, I got my schedule right here on. Yeah, is Monday the 20th. Yeah, Monday the 20th.
Yes.
So on the 20th, we're gonna do Attack of the Cane Toad. I've been on a toad kick here lately. If you watched my live stream today, I had a toad intro added to my show, and then on Wednesday we're gonna do part 2 of the creation unfolding the coelacanth chronicle, where this guy is talking about how coelacanth living fossil, therefore God. Friday, look at the underground alien kingdom of the Old West. The Grand Canyon has entrances to alien cities underground, and we're going to find out about that. But And then, of course, every Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, I will be on. Bree has something coming up in April too. I'll have to get back to you on that. Oh yeah, Skeptic Haven. I'm also Sunny's new co-host on the Sunny Spot Thursday nights. Rick, you have to remind me what it is in April because I got such a busy schedule. I have my release schedule here, but I don't have my live schedule. Yeah, but I'm doing What's the Buzz too. So yes, I'm a super busy girl.
Yes, sounds like it.
But I save time for my friends like Gardens Happen here with the small starter channel. Whatever I can do to help promote you and
I appreciate it.
Plug your content. I may, if with your permission, I may even re-release this conversation or parts of this conversation on my channel.
Yeah, by all means, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. Well, do you have a closing statement that you say or a closer that you?
I figure I'll just end up with. I'm usually I was thinking about doing my live streams usually on Thursday. I will accommodate for special guests such as yourself, but I don't know. I seem to get a pretty good turnout on Saturdays here, so I might have to just bite the bullet and have my day off and spend it with you guys. So that's about all I got to say for my closing statements. So everybody's good. See you guys around.
Like keep it green or
well, my usual tagline for my videos is usually may your gardens happen.
Yeah, do it then. I'll do mine first, then you do yours, okay? I say, remember to be kind and take care.
And may your gardens happen. All right.